go back to the role of the press in this, because we really haven't covered Woodward fairly.
Yeah, please take the
He
floor
has
to.
this source. It turns out they calls his source Deep Throat. And the implication all along was that his source worked on the White House staff. And we learned 30 years later his source was a disgruntled officer from the FBI, Mark Felt. But Bob Woodward knew that wasn't true and allowed and encouraged the American public to believe it was Nixon's White House staff. This is not only dishonorable, this is corrupt. This is absolute corruption. Now,
100%.
he's supposed to be the greatest investigative reporter of all time, but how do you get credit for investigative reporting when all you are doing is publishing what the government already knows? The lead FBI agent on all of Watergate, Angelo Lano, said on an oral history given to the National Archives in 2007, they said, "What about Woodward and Bernstein?" He said, "They didn't help us a bit." It didn't help you a bit. He said, "No, they're publishing what we already knew." So the archivist says, "Well, didn't they give you any leads?" He says, "No, not a one." Did we give them leads? We gave them thousands, but they didn't help us. Then you have the interview with a grand juror. It was alleged they approached a grand juror, and and Sirica lost his temper. They dispatched their lawyer, Edward Bennett Williams, down to calm Sirica down. And Williams says, "Look, no harm, no foul." The juror wouldn't talk to him. So it's okay. 2014, a book gets published where the author came across in Ben Bradley's files 7 pages of typed notes from a Carl Bernstein interview with a grand juror. They've been lying about it for 40 years. And once again, written proof that Woodward and Bernstein, this happy group of heroes, are common liars. And finally, you have the interview of Leon Jaworski. Jaworski resigns early, goes back to Texas, and the first interview he gives to the press is December 5th, 1974. The cover-up trial is still going on. We have Woodward's typed notes from that interview. And in the second sentence of the first paragraph on the top page of his notes, the sentence says there were lots of one-on-one conversations that only he and the other party know about. Now, roll that around in your mind for a second. What on earth is Jaworski talking about? Conversations only he and the other party know about. That's his secret meetings with Judge Sirica. He wanted to tell Woodward what he'd been doing. And Woodward doesn't follow up then or later because it would have ruined his narrative. Woodward, the greatest investigative reporter of all time, punts on what would have been the greatest scandal of all time, the cheating by the special prosecutors.
So you could say journalistic malpractice.
To say the least. To say the least.
Yeah, Nixon always did say that. I mean, at this time, it was what CBS, ABC, and NBC. They're all leftist media establishments. Nixon always claimed that the media hated him. I know after he lost his 62 governor race, I think I forget the exact quote, but he basically said, "I'm retiring from public life. The media will no longer have anything to report on."
He loses to Pat Brown, and he says, "Well, gentlemen, you will not have Nixon to kick around anymore." Because this is my last press conference.
Yeah.
It was not just only 3 networks. It was also 2 very powerful weekly news magazines, Newsweek and Time, and the dominant national newspaper, the New York Times. All 6 of those organizations are headquartered within 6 blocks of each other of Midtown Manhattan. So you not only got a single narrative, it was the New York point of view. And today we We suspect the New York
Right.
point of view. We don't think
Yeah.
that reflects the nation. But boy, did it reflect a hatred of Richard Nixon.
Yeah, it's no wonder that the American public thought Nixon was a crook and guilty because they only saw the one side of the story. But
They only got one story.